front end. Front end might not be where your Odoo development journey starts, but it's often where it leads to. In this session, we'll cover the essentials to build a public-facing front end for your Odoo application. The slides and the demo repository will be available on the talks page. What do we call front end inside Odoo? It's actually all the customer-facing screens. So the e-commerce, the blogs, the courses, events, but also all the portal pages, like the page where you can see your invoices in the customer portal. And unlike the backend screens, which are a single page application, the front end is generated page by page by the Odoo server. And this is achieved by a layer of the Odoo HTTP layer, which is named controllers. And those controllers, they're actually Python classes that run within the Odoo server process. So how it looks like, the controllers folder of your add-on, and this class has to extend Odoo HTTP controller. You can have several controllers inside one single add-on to distribute the responsibilities of your endpoints. Inside the controller, you define methods that will receive the incoming calls. By tagging the method with the root decorator, you actually provide a list of URL patterns that will be listened to by the Odoo server and forwarded to your method. These patterns, they can contain parameters which are passed from the address that is used to call your service, and they get converted and put as a parameter when calling your method. The syntax to do that is type colon name between angle brackets. Besides the basic type like integer and string, there is also a special type we have, which is model, with the model name as parameter. And when you use that, instead of receiving the record ID as an integer in your function signature, you actually receive an Odoo dataset, which is for the given type and targets the specific ID. The root decorator also has parameters. So there is a type parameter which indicates what is being produced by the root, so that you know if it's a root about HTML or JSON. So if you say type equals HTTP, then the root is expected to produce HTML. And if you use type equals JSON RPC, which just changed, like explained by Julien, it is then generating JSON data. Another parameter of the decorator is specifying who can access the specific root. So typically, if you specify that the host is public, then that means anybody will be able to make the call. But if the user is not authenticated, it will use a default user that is built inside Odoo, which is named base.publicuser. And so all the security settings that we'll have set for that user will be the ones used for visitors of a website, for example. If you specify that auth is user, then the call will only happen if an actual user is logged in and has been identified. Within the method itself, you can access the URM, almost like when you are inside a model, except that you're not inside a model class. So instead of using self.env to call all your methods on the ORM, the env is stored on the request object. So you just use it the same way as usual. Once you've done all the operations you need, you can create a rendering context, which is just a dictionary with key values where you store all the information that you want to use in the display that you will return. And then you call request.render to invoke your specific QWeb template to do the rendering to HTML, providing the rendering context that you've prepared. In case your root is a JSON RPC root, then instead, you just return a dictionary that you've prepared with the values you want to return, and that will be serialized to JSON implicitly for you. Demo time. So I've prepared a small scenario where my model actually represents a presentation which is made of pages, and the pages have content, and the content can have a few types, bullet point, code snippets, headings, etc. So if we applied what we just seen until now, here I've prepared two example routes, one which will display a list of those records and one which will display a detail for a single record. It's pretty much exactly what I just said there. And I've prepared templates for the two different layouts that need to be rendered. If we look at that now, sure, we have something that works technically. You can have your records, you can browse them, you can move around, but that's not integrated correctly within Odoo. You don't see it fit inside the website. So other stuff also needs to be done. That's because here I actually rendered the HTML itself myself inside the template. And that's most likely not what you want to achieve. So what we want is to properly fit inside website. What do we mean by that? We want the layout. So with the header, the footer, the menu for the navigation on top, and we most likely also want a menu item that leads to our screens. That's no magic. You just need to wrap your content inside a T call to the website.layout template, and this will handle the whole generation of the HTML with all the required elements, also including the asset bundle that are related to website and all the front end. So with the CSS and the JS files. But that also means that this is global across all your website pages. It will be the same JavaScripts that are loaded. So it's a good practice to put a class that is specific to your page in order for your script to know that it's what they're intended for that is currently being displayed on screen. It's also interesting when using that template to specify a main object inside the rendering context so that the template can actually extract from it possibly the SEO data, the title, all the meta tags that are generated inside the head elements of the HTML page. Another nice to have, you can define a div with the classes OE structure, OE empty, and when you use the website builder, if you switch to edit mode, this gets converted into a drop zone within the page, which can then be further populated by the designer of your website without the need to return to configuring the templates in the code. And for the menu item itself, you just create a record that of the type website.menu with name and link and so on. It has to be attached to the website.main menu parent element, and with the sequence you put it in the right location within the menu. Another thing that you can do to properly integrate in website when you have a long list of records is to use the pager that is available within Odoo and not reinvent it. So when you want to use it, instead of just fetching your records, what you do is fetching only the records that you plan to display on the page. Beware that the page number is actually starting from 1. And you also need to fetch the total number of records that can be reached, so that the pager knows how many pages at maximum are available. Be sure that you use the same domain in both requests so that the display remains consistent. Then you create an instance of the pager object where you provide that information. If you have some filtering in your current that determines what are the current records being displayed, then make sure to also include the parameters that contain this filtering so that when switching between pages, you keep that filter. The address generated by the pager contains a /page / the page number, so you can recover the initial address just by truncating on /page. And you put the pager inside the rendering context, and then within the template, you just tcall website.pager. You can configure its style a bit with a few variables. Another integration is participating in search results on your website, so that the records of your specific application also appear in there. That takes a few steps. The main entry point is within website itself. So in your add-on, you would inherit from website and override the search get details method, which is a method that collects all the metadata that describe how to obtain records for the various types based on which kind of search is being performed. There is a predefined search type which is named all, which means that it includes all the records from all the types that support the search. So be sure to also support that value to make your model participate in it. And for it, you just add yourself to the result and forward the question to the model of your module. So inside your model, be sure to inherit from website searchable mixin so that all the methods required to perform the search are available. And you override search get detail, which will provide the metadata that describe what to search. So you need to provide the model that you're looking for, the domain, the fields within which to look for the search term, and the fields needed to actually have the data to put on display. And then a less intuitive part is a mapping which describes for each possible slot within the result card where to find the information in the record. So you would provide the name of the field, the type of the field, whether the match string needs to be highlighted within the result, this kind of thing. If you define, you can define an icon that is global for your kind of records by using a font_awesome class, like here FA question. And that will be the default image associated to the records of your specific type. But if you map the image URL, of course, that image will take over the icon when it is available. Another possible integration in website is to define a dynamic snippets. It's blocks that you can drop within the static content inside your website pages, but their content is based on the records inside the database. So this takes two parts. First, you need to describe which records and how to find them. They are based on the standard IR filters from the backend. So from there, you can determine what is the model and which records to fetch. But we don't want to expose through this API any backend filter that exists. So to avoid that, you create another record, which is a website.snippet.filter. And in there, you reference your backend filter, and you also list the fields that you want to see extracted and properly formatted for the user. For the display, you create a template, and that template receives inside its rendering context a variable named records, which is a list of dictionaries. And in there, you have all the fields that you described, but that you specified in the snippet filter. You receive all the values for those fields. There is also a special key, which is _record, which provides access to the actual ORM record in case you actually need to achieve something specific in there. And there is another special key, which is call to action URL, which gives you the link to the front-end page of the specific record, so that you know when clicking, where does it go. Note that the template ID is significative, because that's what is used by the website builder to determine which are the available layouts to render a given type of records. So it identifies them based on the name. The pattern for the name is dynamic filter template, then the model type, and then the layout type that you want to use. Demo time. So I just did all the various elements that I just presented. I wrapped my layouts within a website layout. I have added some drop zones on my various displays. And inside my controller, I created a pager to be able to feed it inside the rendering context, and then I called the template for it. So if I go to those pages, now it looks a bit more like it's actually part of Odoo. We have the menu item that is present, the layout is there, and we use the pager for the elements, and when we navigate, we remain consistent. Within here, since just to show you quickly, here you see I've added a drop zone on top and on bottom where we can add further information. And this can be saved, and then it's saved globally for the specific template. So all the list page will have the same content, and all the detail page will have the same content. Yep. The dynamic snippet as well, I can show you. Yep. So it shows our records. Maybe that's too many records to fit properly in the page, but you get the idea. Another possible location for front-end screen is portal pages. And pretty much the same. You have a layout. It's not the same one, but it's still a layout. And you have the home page of the portal, which contains the links toward your records globally, but also you can, in some situation, want to show an alert in case the connected users has to do some action related to your data. And inside detail pages, the navigation is assured by the use of breadcrumbs. So we want to fit in there as well. Fitting in the layouts, it's pretty much the same as in website, except that you use the portal.portal layout instead of the website one. To put the information inside the portal homepage, there you need to activate the section in case you're the only module that actually needs it. So you set portal client category enable to true. That makes the set of blocks in the bottom available. And then within portal client category, you add a T-call to portal docs entry where you describe your block. Within this T-call, there is a special element which is placeholder count. This defines the name of a counter, which is the number of records involved behind the element. And we'll see right now how to populate it. So within the controller, it is a special controller for the portal pages. So you need to extend the customer portal controller. In there, you can override prepare home portal values, which receives the list of counters that are requested to render the page. And so you just associate to each counter name the number of records that matches it. For the alert, you do exactly the same, but I will show it in the code in a minute. The breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs, you do them by inheriting portal.portal breadcrumbs. Beware that the template is common across all portal pages, so you must make sure not to pollute the portal pages of other modules. So you need to have inside your rendering context all the information necessary to determine if you're in the page that is yours and not another one, so that you know whether a breadcrumb must appear, and you also need to know which breadcrumb is the currently active one. So a breadcrumb element itself is just an li element with the class breadcrumb item, and the active one just has the active one, the active class on top of it. Let's see in the portal. So here I activated both. So you see the client blocks are activated, but for the alert, it's just exactly the same. You replace the word client by alert, and you activate the alert one. Within the alert category, you create a block. Within the client category, you create a block. You can specify the look and feel of the alert by specifying the BG color. Yeah, and inside the Python, I prepared the 2 counters in this version. So if I go in the portal layout version, you see I have a block, the link here that leads to my specific records. Inside my slides, I actually have 2 to-dos that are remaining, so that would be a link to them. And yeah, you just reach the list of records, and you can browse them. Okay. So, in short, it's not rocket science to build a front end for your application. You write a few methods that you decorate with the root decorator inside the controller class. You call the URL like you do always, and you just render a QWeb template after that. And then depending where it fits, you use the tools that we've just seen together to make it fit correctly in the right location. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we ran a bit over time, so the Q&A can happen after the session, right? They can find you where?
Yeah, you can anyway come to the booth of the website team and.
All right, booth of the website team for the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.